What's up guys, Saf here on SuperSaf TV, and look what we have here. It is of course the brand new Samsung Galaxy Note 9. I've had to go all the way to London to pick this up. We're gonna get it unboxed and we'll also compare it to the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. Let's get straight to it. So first up, the box this time actually has the S Pen here at the front. It's the yellow S Pen, which means that this is the ocean blue color. It is the one that I'm digging the most, and that's because the device is a different color to the S Pen. I definitely do like that look. Now the box, although it's the same size, it is a different design. Traditionally, we actually have the logo here at the front like we've got on the Note 8. So that's something different. Lots of emphasis put on the S Pen. There's some good reasons for that. We'll be discussing those in a bit. There's a Samsung Galaxy Note 9 logo here on the left-hand side. And on the back, we've got some of the specifications. Once again, we'll be looking into these in more detail a little bit later on. Right, let's get this out of the box. Little pack. This is going to have all the paperwork, and there is the device. We're just going to put that to the side for a second while we see what else we get inside the box. And no real surprises here. We've got the SIM card ejector tool, the paperwork. We've got USB Type-A to USB Type-C cable, an adaptive fast charger, so fast charging is supported. And we also have fast wireless charging as before. There's some earphones tuned by AKG with some spare ear tips. A USB Type-A to USB Type-C adapter. Now this is really cool because that means you can connect full-size USB sticks to the Note 9. And you can also use it for transfer. There's also a micro USB to USB Type-C connector. And finally, something unique to the Note series, and that is this tool that you can use to replace the nibs on the S Pen. And you also get some spare. Right, that's all of the regular stuff out the way. Now let's get to the phone itself. We'll get rid of the plastic. And that looks so beautiful. I'm really digging this ocean blue color. I'm glad I've got this one. There are 3 other colors available. And then we've also got the front screen protector. All right, that didn't really work. It just landed back on the desk. There you go, that's better. And we've switched it on and you can see this stunning 6.4 inch Super AMOLED display with Quad HD Plus resolution. Now it is an infinity display, so we've got very small bezels on the top and bottom, and it feels really nice and premium. Of course, we've got that traditional Samsung design where the glass panels curve both on the front and back with this metal frame. The edges are slightly chamfered this year, which does look really nice. And we've also got IP68 Water Dust Resistance like we had before. And as you can probably already see, I've got fingerprints at the back of this. And if you do want to avoid that and you want to protect the device because it is glass after all, then I would definitely recommend picking up a case from this video sponsor, Tech21. Tech21 have just launched their new range of cases for the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, some of which we have here, and they guarantee the most effective protection drop after drop. This is thanks to their impact absorbing material, Flex Shock and Bullet Shield, which protect from drops of up to 3.6 meters, and the fact that Tech21 drop test their cases 20 times to ensure durable, long-lasting protection. If you want to pick up some cases from Tech21, I'll be leaving a link to them in the description below. Now looking around the device, up front we've got an 8 megapixel front-facing camera with an f1.7 aperture. The specifications of this are the same as the S9 Plus, so I'd expect it to also perform similarly to the S9 Plus. And then we've got an earpiece. Now this also doubles up as a speaker, so we've got one front firing here and one bottom firing, and these are tuned by AKG and support Dolby Atmos. Now on the back, we've got the Samsung logo. We've got a horizontal camera placement like we had on the Note 8 last year, but the fingerprint scanner now is below the cameras. Before it was on the side. Now just quickly bringing in the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 for a comparison, you can see that difference in the blue. It's a lot more flat on the Note 8. On the Note 9, it's a lot more reflective, and I definitely do like the color better. And the camera placement as well, although it's horizontal on both devices, the fingerprint scanner is in a pretty awkward position on the Note 8. It's in a better position definitely on the Note 9. However, I still don't think it's ideal. It is still a bit of a stretch. I've got medium-sized hands and I still do have to kind of stretch to reach it. It would have made more sense if it was more near this Samsung logo. Not the end of the world because you do have intelligent scan, so that's the iris scanner as well as facial recognition. Now the rear-facing cameras, as with the front-facing camera, have the same specifications that we've got on the S9 Plus. So it's dual 12 megapixel with optical image stabilization on both cameras. The primary is a wide angle with a dual aperture, so it does switch between apertures of f1.5 and f2.4, and that is based on the amount of light in your scene. The S9 Plus has been one of the best low light shooters out there right now in my test, so I expect this to also perform great. And then we've got the secondary telephoto camera, which is going to give you 2x optical zoom, and that has an f2.4 aperture. And this is what's going to help with the live focus mode, and that is where it's going to blur the background. Now, Samsung are calling these intelligent cameras, and that is because this time we do have more AI built around them. And this is going to try to enhance your scene, and it's also going to have something called flaw detection. So if somebody's got their eyes closed, or if it's a blurry picture, it's going to alert you to retake that picture, which is quite interesting. Now, I would expect the quality to be similar to the S9 Plus because of the similar specifications, but we do have newer software on here, so there might be certain improvements. Definitely let me know if you'd like me to do some SuperSaf style camera comparisons and with which devices in the comments below. For video, you do have 4K up to 60 frames a second and super slow-mo at up to 960 frames a second. Very similar to what we've had on the S9 Plus. On the right hand side, we've got a power button. On the left hand side, we've got the volume rocker as well as the Bixby button. Yes, the Bixby button is not going anywhere. On the top, there's a secondary mic, and then there is the SIM card tray. Now, this will either have 1 or 2 SIM cards depending on your region, but you do have space for a MicroSD card. Now, what's impressive is that as a base, you get 128 gigabytes, but there is also a 512 gigabyte version available. And you can expand that as well, so you can get up to 1 terabyte of storage on this, which is absolutely insane. And moving on to the bottom, hey, we do have a 3.5mm headphone jack. This is something I know a lot of you guys are going to be pleased to see. We've got a USB Type-C connector, the primary mic, the speaker, which we talked about earlier, and then we have the S Pen. Now, I've left the S Pen to the last because there's a lot to cover on this year's S Pen. Let's pop it out by pushing it in. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that it's yellow in color, and that contrasts nicely with the blue of the Note 9. The other color Note 9s do have an S Pen that matches the color of the device. The blue is the only one that has the yellow S Pen. I'm definitely digging it. What about you guys? Now, when we pop this out, we can do all of our usual stuff like off-screen memo, where you can just write, and that's going to save that in your notes. But there's something even cooler about the S Pen this year, and that is that it now supports Bluetooth Low Energy. This basically means that you're going to be able to use it as a remote control, and this makes things really, really interesting. So you can see that the S Pen is out. If I press and hold this button, the camera launches. Now, you can customize this. So pressing and holding can launch other apps if you want. But now that I've got the camera app open, if I double press the button on the S Pen, it's going to switch the camera, and I can press once to take a picture. Now, of course, this makes things very, very interesting because you can now use the S Pen remotely at up to 10 meters, and the camera is not the only application. You can also use the S Pen remote to scrub through a video, for example, switch through slides. And it's also going to be opened up to developers to customize apps to be able to use the S Pen remote functionality. And this makes things really exciting. Now, of course, to be able to use this remotely, it needs to have a battery, and it does have a small battery inside here, but it lasts up to 30 minutes. And to charge it, you simply pop it back in, and it's going to give you a full charge in around 40 seconds. That's really cool. And this does take the S Pen to the next level, and definitely let me know in the comments below if it's something you can see yourself using. Now, apart from that, internally, as with previous Note devices, this is packing the latest and greatest. So we've got the Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 or the Samsung Exynos 9810, and we've got either 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM versions available. The 512 gigabyte version will come with 8 gigabytes of RAM. The version I have here is the 128 gig, and this has 6 gigabytes of RAM. What's interesting, however, is that it's got a water carbon cooling system built inside, and that should really help with gaming, and gaming has been an emphasis of this, and it is going to be one of the first devices to support Fortnite on Android. And of course, to have long gaming sessions, you're going to need a big battery, and this thing comes with a massive 4000 mAh battery, which should last all day long. I'm really interested to see how long this will last, because the Note 8 wasn't so great with that huge display. The battery just wasn't sufficient in my opinion. And there we have it, guys. That is the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 unboxing and first look. In terms of my first impressions, I think they're pretty obvious. Very, very positive overall. I've been a fan of the Note series for a long time, and I've been using the S9 Plus since it was released because I believe it ticks almost all the boxes that I need from a smartphone. and the Note 9 just extends on that with the additional features. What do you guys think of the Samsung Galaxy Note 9? Definitely drop me a comment below and let me know. And let me know what kind of coverage you'd like to see with this too. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button. And if you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe and switch your notifications. There's lots more content coming up on here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV, and I'll see you next time.